What would you do if a billionaire offered to save your dying mother's life for one night? Emma Chen, a desperate waitress in Manhattan, faced $847,000 in medical bills. Her mother had weeks to live. No one would help. Then Alexander Sterling walked in. Cold, powerful, wealthy, beyond imagination. As Emma's tears fell in panic and desperation, he made an offer that left her speechless. "One night with me will pay off your mother's medical bills." She slapped him and ran. But at 3 a.m., holding his card while her mother cried in pain, Emma faced an impossible choice. What followed would reveal a secret that changed everything. Stay until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories. And if you like it, please hit the like button. The rain hammered against the windows of Bella Vista as Emma Chen balanced 3 plates on her left arm and 2 wine glasses in her right hand. Her feet screamed in protest. She'd been on them for 11 hours straight, and her second shift wasn't even halfway done. "Table 7 needs their check," Linda, the manager, barked as Emma passed. "And table 12 is asking for you specifically. Some big shot in a suit." Emma nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Table 12. She'd noticed him the moment he walked in. Impossible not to. Alexander Sterling commanded attention without trying. His charcoal suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months, and the way other diners stole glances at him suggested he was someone important. She delivered the plates to table 7, her hands moving on autopilot. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She ignored it. Probably another creditor. It buzzed again and again. "Emma, your phone," Jessica whispered. Her best friend's face creased with concern. "It might be the hospital." Emma's blood turned to ice. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. "Mount Sinai Hospital. Urgent." Her vision blurred as she read the message. "Ms. Chen, your mother's condition has deteriorated. We need to discuss treatment options immediately. Current outstanding balance, $847,000. Without payment arrangements, we cannot proceed with the next round of chemotherapy." The phone slipped from her hands, clattering on the tile floor. $847,000. The number burned into her brain like a brand. Her mother had maybe 2 months without treatment. With it, maybe a year, maybe more. "Emma?" Jessica grabbed her arm. "What's wrong?" She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The restaurant spun around her as the weight of that impossible number crushed down on her shoulders. I need air," Emma gasped, stumbling toward the back exit. She burst through the kitchen doors into the alley behind Bella Vista, rain soaking through her uniform immediately. She pressed her back against the brick wall and let the tears come. Hot, desperate, hopeless tears that mixed with the cold rain on her face. Her mother was dying. Margaret Chen, who'd raised Emma alone after her father disappeared, who'd worked 3 jobs to put food on the table, who'd sacrificed everything so Emma could go to nursing school, was dying. And Emma couldn't save her. She'd already dropped out of school to work full-time. She'd applied for every loan, every grant, every assistance program. Denied, denied, denied. A 24-year-old waitress with no credit and no collateral wasn't worth the risk. "Excuse me," Emma's head snapped up. Alexander Sterling stood in the alley doorway, rain beginning to darken his expensive suit. Up close, he was even more striking. Sharp jawline, steel-gray eyes that seemed to see right through her, dark hair perfectly styled despite the weather. "I'm sorry, I'll be right back to your table," Emma said, frantically wiping her tears. "I just need a moment." "You drop this." He held out her phone. Its screen cracked from the fall, but still glowing with that devastating message. Emma's cheeks burned. He'd seen it. He knew. "Thank you," she whispered, reaching for the phone. But he didn't let go immediately. Those gray eyes studied her face with an intensity that made her want to disappear. $847,000, he said quietly. "For your mother. It's none of your business." Emma pulled the phone from his grasp and turned away. "I could write you a check right now. Cover everything. The treatment, the hospital bills, the medications, all of it." Emma froze. Slowly, she turned back to face him. "What?" "I'll pay off your mother's medical bills. Every cent." Alexander Sterling pulled out a business card and a pen, writing something on the back. "On one condition." Hope and suspicion warred in Emma's chest. What condition? He stepped closer, and Emma caught the scent of expensive cologne and rain. When he spoke, his voice was low, almost gentle, which somehow made his words even more shocking. "One night with me, that's all I'm asking. One night, and your mother gets to live." The world tilted. Emma stared at him, certain she'd misheard. What? You heard me correctly." He held out the card. "My private number is on the back. Think about it." "Think about it?" Emma's voice rose to a shout. "You think I'm some kind of prostitute you can just buy? I think you're a desperate woman who would do anything to save her mother." His expression remained impassive. "I'm offering you a solution." The slap echoed through the alley like a gunshot. Emma's palm stung, and a red mark bloomed on Alexander Sterling's cheek, but he didn't flinch. Didn't react at all except for the slightest tightening around his eyes. "Go to hell!" Emma hissed. She shoved past him, back into the restaurant, her whole body shaking with rage and humiliation. Jessica caught her at the entrance to the dining room. "Emma, what happened? You're soaking wet." "I'm fine." Emma wasn't fine. She was drowning. "I need to finish my shift." But as she moved through the restaurant on numb legs, serving drinks and taking orders with a smile plastered on her face, she couldn't stop thinking about that card still crumpled in her pocket. $847,000. One night. Her mother's life. At 3 a.m., Emma sat on the floor of the apartment she shared with her mother, back against Margaret's bedroom door. Inside, she could hear her mother's labored breathing, the occasional whimper of pain even through the morphine. Emma pulled out the crumpled business card. Alexander Sterling, CEO, Sterling Industries. And on the back, in bold handwriting, a phone number. One night. That's what he'd said. Just one night, and her mother would live. Emma closed her eyes, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. What kind of monster makes an offer like that? And what kind of daughter was she, that she was actually considering it? The fluorescent lights of Mount Sinai Hospital buzzed overhead as Emma walked down the corridor toward her mother's room. She'd barely slept after her shift ended, Alexander Sterling's business card burning like a brand in her pocket. Room 417. Emma paused at the door, steeling herself. Every visit was harder than the last. Margaret Chen lay in the hospital bed, a fraction of the vibrant woman she'd once been. Her once thick black hair had thinned to wisps. Her skin had taken on a grayish pallor, and the circles under her eyes looked like bruises. But when she saw Emma, her face lit up with that familiar smile. "Emma, sweetheart, you didn't have to come so early." "Of course I did, Mom." Emma kissed her forehead, fighting back tears. "How are you feeling?" "Oh, you know, same as always." Margaret's attempt at cheerfulness crumbled as a wave of pain crossed her face. She gripped the bed rails, knuckles white. "Mom." Emma reached for the call button. No, I'm fine. It passes." Margaret took a shaky breath. "Tell me about work. Did you get good tips last night?" Emma couldn't answer. Couldn't tell her mother about the impossible offer, about the billionaire who'd propositioned her in a rain-soaked alley, about the choice that was tearing her apart. A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Rebecca Martinez entered, her expression professionally neutral, but her eyes sympathetic. "Emma, can I speak with you outside?" Emma's stomach dropped. Nothing good ever started with those words. In the hallway, Dr. Martinez pulled up Margaret's chart on her tablet. "Emma, I need to be direct with you. Your mother's cancer has progressed faster than we anticipated. The tumors in her pancreas have spread to her liver, but the chemotherapy isn't working as well as we'd hoped." Dr. Martinez's voice was gentle but firm. "Without the next phase of treatment, immunotherapy combined with targeted radiation, Margaret has approximately 2 to 3 months, maybe less. 2 months. The words hit Emma like a physical blow. "And with treatment," Emma whispered, "with treatment we're looking at extended quality of life, possibly a year or more. There are new clinical trials, experimental protocols. But Emma..." "Doctor," Martinez hesitated. "The financial department has flagged your mother's account. Without payment arrangements, we can't move forward. I'm so sorry." Emma leaned against the wall, the world tilting beneath her feet. She'd tried everything. Every bank had denied her loan applications. Every charity had waiting lists, years long. Every crowdfunding campaign had raised barely enough to cover a week of medications. "How much?" Emma asked, though she already knew the answer. "How much for everything? The full treatment plan, including hospital stays, medications, and monitoring. We're looking at approximately $847,000. There it was, that number again. Impossible, insurmountable. Except Alexander Sterling could write that check without blinking. "I need to think," Emma said. "Can you give me 24 hours? "Of course, but Emma, I can't stress enough. Time is critical here." Emma returned to her mother's room, painted on a smile, and spent the next hour talking about nothing important while her mind screamed with the weight of her decision. That evening, Emma sat in the tiny apartment she'd shared with her mother all her life. The walls were covered with photos, Emma's school pictures, Margaret at her sewing machine creating beautiful dresses for wealthy clients, the two of them at Emma's high school graduation. Jessica had come over after her shift, bringing Chinese takeout that Emma couldn't eat. "You have to tell me what's going on," Jessica said, setting down her chopsticks. "You've been somewhere else all day." Emma pulled out the business card. "A man made me an offer last night." She told Jessica everything, about Alexander Sterling, about the proposition, about the impossible choice she faced. Jessica's eyes widened with each word. "Emma, no. You can't be seriously considering this. My mother has 2 months to live without treatment, Jess. 2 months. But selling yourself to some rich asshole—" "I'm not selling myself," Emma's voice cracked. I'm saving my mother's life, that's what I'm doing. There has to be another way." "There isn't." Emma stood up, pacing the small living room. "Don't you think I've tried everything? Every door has been slammed in my face. This is the only option left." Jessica grabbed her hands. "Emma, listen to me. Men like Alexander Sterling don't just hand out money. What if this is some sick game? What if he hurts you? What if my mother dies because I was too proud to accept help?" Emma pulled away, tears streaming down her face. "What if I have to watch her waste away, knowing I could have saved her but didn't?" The apartment fell silent, except for Emma's ragged breathing. "If you do this," Jessica finally said, "you call me every hour. You share your location. And at the first sign that something's wrong, you get out. Promise me." Emma nodded, unable to speak. After Jessica left, Emma sat on her mother's bed, surrounded by the faint scent of the lavender soap Margaret always used. She picked up a framed photo from the nightstand, the two of them at Coney Island when Emma was 10, both laughing, both carefree. Margaret had given up everything for Emma, had worked until her fingers bled to make sure Emma had opportunities she never did, had dreamed of the day Emma would graduate nursing school and make something of herself. Now it was Emma's turn to sacrifice. At 11:47 p.m., Emma picked up her phone. Her finger hovered over Alexander Sterling's number for a full minute before she finally pressed call. It rang once, twice. "Ms. Chen." His voice was smooth, unsurprised. "I was wondering if you'd call." Emma took a deep breath. "I'll do it." The words tasted like ash. "But I have conditions." "I'm listening." "The money goes directly to the hospital before anything happens. The full amount. And I want it in writing. A contract that says exactly what you expect from me." There was a pause. Then, "Agreed. Can you meet me tomorrow at noon? I'll have my lawyers draw up the paperwork." "Where?" "My penthouse, Central Park West. I'll send a car for you." Emma's hands shook. "Mr. Sterling, why are you doing this?" Another pause, longer this time. When he spoke, his voice was quieter, almost sad. "Everyone has their reasons, Miss Chen. I'll see you tomorrow." The line went dead. Emma sat in the darkness of her apartment, the phone still pressed to her ear, and wondered what she'd just agreed to. Outside, the city that never slept hummed with life. Millions of people going about their lives, unaware that hers had just changed forever. She looked at her mother's door one more time. "I'm going to save you, Mom," she whispered, "no matter what it costs me." The black Mercedes pulled up to Emma's apartment building at exactly 11:45 a.m. Emma had changed outfits 5 times, finally settling on a simple navy dress, the nicest thing she owned. Her hands trembled as she locked the apartment door. Jessica had texted her 15 times already. "Are you sure about this? It's not too late to back out." But it was too late. Emma had already made her choice. The driver, a professional man in his 50s, opened the door without a word. The leather interior smelled expensive, and Emma felt completely out of place as they glided through Manhattan traffic toward Central Park West. The building was one of those iconic pre-war structures that screamed old money. A doorman ushered her inside without question, and she rode the elevator to the penthouse, her heart hammering with each floor they climbed. The doors opened directly into Alexander Sterling's home. Emma stepped into a world she'd only seen in magazines. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, the autumn trees a riot of gold and crimson. Modern art hung on the walls. Pieces she suspected were originals worth millions. Everything was sleek, minimalist, and cold, like its owner. Ms. Chen. Alexander appeared from a side room, dressed more casually than before in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." He gestured to a leather couch. On the glass coffee table sat a stack of papers and 2 coffee cups. "I don't want coffee," Emma said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I want to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to." "Of course." Alexander sat across from her, his expression unreadable. "But first I need to be completely honest with you about what this arrangement actually entails." Emma's stomach clenched. "What do you mean?" He slid the contract across the table. "Read page 3, section 4. With shaking hands, Emma flipped through the legal document. Her eyes scanned the dense text until she found the section he mentioned. She read it once, then again, then looked up at Alexander in complete confusion. "I don't understand. This says I'm agreeing to act as your fiancé for 6 months. Public appearances, social events, family gatherings." She looked up, bewildered. "This isn't about, you don't want to sleep with me?" "No, Miss Chen, I don't." Alexander leaned back, and for the first time, she saw something like exhaustion in his eyes. "I need a fiancé. A fake one, that's all." "But why would you say what you said in the alley? Why make me think?" "Because desperate people don't ask questions when they think they understand the deal," he said bluntly. "If I'd approached you and said, 'Pretend to be engaged to me for 6 months,' you would have been suspicious. You would have asked why, investigated my motives, possibly refused. But offering to pay for sex? That's a transaction you understood, even if you hated it." Emma stood up, anger flooding through her. "You manipulated me. You let me spend a whole day thinking I was going to have to—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes, and I apologize for that." Alexander stood too, maintaining his distance. "But I needed to know you were desperate enough to agree, that you wouldn't back out when things got difficult." "Why?" Emma demanded. "Why do you need a fake fiancé so badly that you'd put me through that?" Alexander walked to the windows, looking out over the park. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. "My father died 8 months ago. Richard Sterling Sr., founder of Sterling Industries. In his will, he included a clause that I don't inherit his majority shares in the company unless I'm married by my 36th birthday. That's insane. That's my father." A bitter smile crossed his face. "He believed I was too focused on work, too cold, too isolated. He wanted to force me to connect with someone. I have 4 months until my birthday. If I don't fulfill the terms, the shares go to my Aunt Helena, who will immediately sell the company to our competitors and dismantle everything my father built." Emma sat back down slowly, processing this. "So you need a wife, a fiancé. We get engaged publicly, maintain the appearance for 6 months until my birthday and the will is settled. Then we quietly break up. You get your mother's medical bills paid, all of them, for as long as she needs treatment, plus a salary of $50,000 per month for your time." $50,000 per month? For 6 months? That was— Emma's mind couldn't even calculate it properly. "There's more," Alexander continued. "My father didn't just include that clause randomly. He knew your mother." Emma's head snapped up. "What?" Alexander returned to the couch and pulled out an old photograph from the stack of papers. It showed a younger Margaret Chen, maybe in her early 20s, standing next to a handsome man in a business suit, Richard Sterling. "This was taken 30 years ago," Alexander said. "Your mother worked as a seamstress for several wealthy families in Manhattan. My father was one of her clients. According to documents I found in his personal effects, your mother had a heart condition. She needed surgery but couldn't afford it. My father paid for it. $75,000 in 1994. Emma stared at the photo, her mother's young face smiling up at her. "She never told me. Maybe she didn't want you to feel indebted, but my father kept track of her over the years. When I was looking for someone to approach for this arrangement, I found his files. Your mother's medical situation, your financial struggles. It seemed fitting, a way to honor a debt he never collected on. So this is charity?" Emma's voice hardened. "Wealthy man helps poor woman again?" "No." Alexander's gray eyes met hers directly. "This is a business transaction. I need something. You need something. We help each other. The money your mother received from my father was a gift. This is a contract. Emma looked down at the papers, her mind reeling. Everything she'd thought about this situation had been wrong. Alexander Sterling wasn't a predator trying to buy her body. He was a businessman who needed to save his father's company and had chosen to help her mother in the process. It didn't make the manipulation okay, but it changed everything. What exactly would I have to do? Emma asked. Attend events with me, galas, business dinners, family gatherings, be photographed together, act affectionate in public. You'll move into the guest suite here. It's important we're seen living together. Learn enough about my business and family to answer basic questions. In private, we maintain separate lives. And after 6 months, we stage a believable breakup. You leave with enough money to finish nursing school and start your life. Your mother gets continued care for as long as she needs it. That clause is ironclad, regardless of what happens between us. Emma looked at the contract again. Pages and pages of legal language, but it all boiled down to one thing. She'd be lying. To the public, to Alexander's family, to everyone. Pretending to love a man she barely knew. But her mother would live. If I sign this, Emma said slowly, the money goes to the hospital today? Within the hour, I have my lawyers standing by. Emma picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line. Ms. Chen, Alexander said quietly. Emma, you should know. The guest suite in Alexander Sterling's penthouse was larger than Emma's entire apartment. A king-sized bed with silk sheets, a marble bathroom with a soaking tub, a walk-in closet that echoed with emptiness. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city she'd lived in her whole life, but had never really seen from this height. Emma set down her single suitcase. Everything she owned fit into one bag, and sat on the edge of the bed, feeling like an imposter in someone else's life. A knock on the door startled her. Come in, she called. Alexander entered carrying a garment bag and several shopping bags. These are for tomorrow night. We have our first public appearance, a charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum. There's a stylist coming at 3 to help you prepare. Emma stood, defensive. I can dress myself. I'm sure you can. But you'll be photographed by every society page in New York. We need to make the right impression. He set the bags down. Consider it part of the job. The word stung. Job. That's what this was. Not a relationship, not even a friendship. A business arrangement. My mother called, Emma said. The hospital confirmed the payment went through. Dr. Martinez says they can start the new treatment protocol tomorrow. Something shifted in Alexander's expression. A flash of warmth that disappeared as quickly as it came. Good. That's good. An awkward silence stretched between them. I should let you settle in, Alexander said, moving toward the door. If you need anything. Why did your father do it? Emma blurted out. Why did he pay for my mother's surgery? They barely knew each other. Alexander paused, his hand on the doorframe. My father believed in paying forward kindness. His own father was a factory worker who died young, leaving my grandmother with nothing. A wealthy family helped them, paid for my father's education. He never forgot that. He looked back at her. He also believed that the measure of a man isn't how he treats his equals, but how he treats those who can't repay him. He sounds like a good man. He was, which made disappointing him all the harder. Alexander's jaw tightened. Get some rest, Emma. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. The next afternoon, Emma's world transformed. The stylist, a whirlwind of a woman named Vanessa, descended on the penthouse with an army of assistants carrying racks of designer gowns, shoeboxes, and makeup cases that probably cost more than Emma's monthly rent. Darling, you have wonderful bone structure, Vanessa declared, circling Emma like a sculptor examining marble. But we need to work on your posture. Shoulders back, chin up. You're about to become one of the most photographed women in New York. Emma endured 3 hours of primping, plucking, and polishing. When Vanessa finally let her look in the mirror, Emma barely recognized herself. The woman staring back wore a midnight blue gown that hugged her curves perfectly, her hair swept into an elegant updo, her makeup subtle but transformative. Alexander won't know what hit him, Vanessa said with satisfaction. But when Emma emerged from her suite, Alexander's expression remained neutral. He looked devastating in a tuxedo, but his eyes simply scanned her appearance with businesslike approval. You look appropriate, he said. The car's waiting. Appropriate. Not beautiful, not stunning. Appropriate. Emma swallowed her disappointment. This wasn't real. She needed to remember that. The Metropolitan Museum was lit up like a palace, red carpet stretching up the iconic steps. Emma's heart hammered as their car pulled up to a sea of flashing cameras. "Just smile and stay close to me," Alexander murmured, helping her out of the car. "And remember, we're madly in love." The moment his hand touched the small of her back, cameras exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Emma's smile felt frozen on her face as Alexander guided her up the steps, his hand possessive and warm through the thin fabric of her gown. "Mr. Sterling, who's your date?" "Alexander, is this your girlfriend? How long have you been together?" Alexander stopped at the top of the steps, pulling Emma close. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Emma Chen, my fiancée." The word dropped like a bomb. Cameras flashed so fast Emma saw spots. Reporters surged forward with a dozen questions at once. "Fiancé? When did this happen? How did you meet? Can we see the ring?" Emma's left hand suddenly felt very naked, but Alexander smoothly raised it, displaying a ring she hadn't noticed him slip on during the car ride. A stunning emerald-cut diamond that caught the light like captured stars. "We've kept our relationship private until now," Alexander said with easy charm Emma had never heard from him before. "But when you know, you know." He looked down at Emma with such warmth, such apparent adoration, that for a moment she almost believed it herself. Then he leaned in and whispered, "Smile wider. You look terrified." Inside the museum, Emma felt like she'd stepped into another world. Women dripped with jewels that could fund hospitals. Men discussed business deals worth millions with casual ease. Everyone seemed to know Alexander, and everyone wanted to meet his mysterious fiancée. "Emma Chen," a silver-haired woman said, studying her like a specimen. "I don't recognize the family name. What do your parents do, dear?" "My mother was a seamstress," Emma said, lifting her chin. "She created beautiful things for people who could appreciate them." The woman's eyebrows rose. Alexander's hand tightened on Emma's waist. "How refreshingly honest," the woman said. "So many young women try to hide their humble origins. You must tell me, how did you two meet?" Emma's mind blanked. They hadn't prepared a story. "At a restaurant," Alexander interjected smoothly. "Emma was working there while finishing her nursing degree. I couldn't take my eyes off her." "A nurse?" The woman looked impressed. "How wonderful. We need more young people going into healthcare." As the woman moved away, Emma whispered, "Nursing degree? I dropped out." "You will finish it," Alexander said quietly. "That's part of our deal. But for tonight, you're a nursing student taking a break. It sounds better than waitress." Emma pulled away from him. "What's wrong with being a waitress? It's honest work." "Nothing's wrong with it. But these people judge." "I'm trying to make this easier for you. By making me lie about who I am, you're already lying about everything else." His voice was cold. "What's one more detail?" They stared at each other, the gala swirling around them in a blur of music and laughter. "I need air," Emma said, turning away. She found a quiet gallery, empty except for ancient Egyptian artifacts behind glass. Emma stood in front of a limestone relief, fighting tears she refused to let fall. "They're overwhelming, aren't they?" a male voice said behind her. "These people." Emma turned to find a man in his 40s, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He held 2 champagne flutes. "You looked like you could use this." He offered one to Emma. "Thank you." Emma took it gratefully. "Is it that obvious I don't belong here? Only to someone who feels the same way." He smiled. "Dr. James Chen. I'm a trauma surgeon at Mount Sinai." Emma nearly choked on her champagne. "Chen? Are we related?" "Probably distantly. It's a common surname." He studied her face. "But you look familiar. Have you been to Mount Sinai recently? My mother's a patient there. Margaret Chen. Dr. Martinez is her oncologist." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Ah, the pancreatic cancer case. I heard about the sudden payment that came through. Everyone's talking about it. It's rare to see that kind of money appear out of nowhere for an uninsured patient." Heat flooded Emma's cheeks. "I'm not judging," Dr. Chen said gently. "I'm glad your mother's getting treatment. I just hope—" He hesitated. "I hope whatever deal you made was worth it." Before Emma could respond, Alexander appeared, his face tight with barely controlled anger. "Emma, we need to go. I was just talking." "Now." He gripped her elbow, nodding curtly at Dr. Chen. "Excuse us. Tentar novamente." The car ride back to the penthouse was suffocating with silence. Alexander stared out the window, jaw clenched. while Emma fought the urge to demand what she'd done wrong. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. "What was that about? Do you have any idea who that was?" Alexander's voice was ice. "Dr. Chen, a surgeon who treats patients at the same hospital as my mother. Dr. James Chen is also a notorious gossip who sells stories to tabloids for extra income. By tomorrow morning, speculation about how you paid for your mother's treatment will be all over page 6. Emma's stomach dropped. "I didn't know. That's the problem. You don't know these people, their agendas, their games." Alexander finally looked at her. "You can't just talk to random strangers at these events. Everyone has an angle." "Maybe I wouldn't have been talking to strangers if you hadn't insulted me," Emma shot back. "I'm not ashamed of being a waitress, Alexander, and I won't pretend to be something I'm not just to impress your society friends. This isn't about impressing anyone. It's about protecting both of us." The car pulled up to the building. Neither of them spoke in the elevator or as they entered the penthouse. Emma headed straight for her suite, desperate to get out of the restrictive gown and away from Alexander's judgmental presence. "Emma, wait!" She turned, exhausted. "What now?" Alexander ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its perfect style. For the first time, he looked uncertain. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you. You handled yourself well tonight, considering you were thrown into the deep end." The apology surprised her. "Thank you. There's something else." He walked to his study and returned with a wooden box, worn at the edges. "I found this in my father's safe. I think you should see it." Emma took the box, her hands trembling slightly. Inside were letters, dozens of them, yellowed with age. She pulled out the first one, her mother's handwriting immediately recognizable, despite being decades younger. "Dear Richard, I don't know how to thank you for what you've done. The surgery was successful. The doctors say I'll make a full recovery. You saved my life, and I can never repay that debt. I know you said it was a gift, that you expected nothing in return. But I want you to understand what you've given me. Not just more years, but the chance to watch my daughter grow up. Emma is only 2 years old, and the thought of leaving her alone in this world was destroying me more than the failing heart. You are a good man, Richard Sterling. I pray your son grows up to be just like you." Emma's vision blurred with tears. She read letter after letter, updates about Emma's childhood, Margaret's gratitude, and something else. A deep respect and admiration that bordered on something more. "They were in love," Emma whispered. "I don't think so," Alexander said quietly. "At least not in the way you mean. My mother was still alive then, but there was clearly a connection. My father checked on your mother for years. These letters span nearly 3 decades. Emma found a letter dated just 8 months ago, right before Richard Sterling died. Dear Richard, the doctors say it's cancer, pancreatic, stage 4. I know what that means, and I've made my peace with it. I've had 30 good years because of you. 30 years to raise my daughter, to see her grow into a remarkable young woman. She's so much like you, though she doesn't know it. Determined, principled, always wanting to help others. She's studying to be a nurse. I'm so proud of her. I'm writing to ask one last favor. Not for me, I've had my time, but Emma will be alone when I'm gone. She has no other family. If anything were to happen, if she ever needed help, could you—" The letter ended there, unfinished, as if Margaret couldn't bring herself to ask. "He died before he could respond," Alexander said. "But I think this is why he put that clause in his will, why he kept such detailed records about your family. He was trying to ensure that even after his death he could still help." Emma clutched the letters to her chest, overwhelmed. "All this time, I thought we were alone, that no one cared." "You weren't alone. My father cared. And now—" Alexander hesitated. "Now I'm trying to honor that." Emma looked up at him, seeing him differently. Not a cold billionaire playing games, but a son trying to fulfill his father's final wish. "Thank you for showing me these." A loud buzzing interrupted the moment. Alexander's phone lit up with notifications. His expression darkened as he read. "What is it?" He turned the phone to show her. A gossip website headline screamed, "Sterling's mysterious fiancée, gold digger or genuine love." Below it, a photo of Emma and Alexander at the gala, and another photo, one Emma recognized with horror. It was from last week, her in her waitress uniform at Bella Vista, looking exhausted and disheveled. "How did they get that?" Emma breathed. "Someone from the restaurant must have sold it." Alexander kept scrolling. "And look at this." Another article. Sources say Emma Chen's mother received $847K in medical bills paid. Same week she got engaged to Billionaire. Emma felt sick. They're making it sound like I seduced you for money. My Aunt Helena is behind this. Alexander's voice was tight with fury. She's been looking for any excuse to discredit me, to prove I'm not fulfilling the spirit of my father's will. As if summoned by her name, the penthouse elevator dinged. A woman in her 60s swept into the apartment without invitation, dressed in a blood-red suit that matched her lipstick. Her eyes were cold calculation. Aunt Helena, Alexander said flatly. How did you get up here? I own 30% of this building, dear nephew. I can access any floor I want. She turned her predatory gaze on Emma. So this is the little waitress playing dress-up. Emma stood straighter. Emma Chen, pleased to meet you. I'm sure you are. An $847,000 engagement present. Quite the catch. Helena circled Emma like a shark. Tell me, dear, how long did you plan this? How long were you sleeping with Alexander before you trapped him with your mother's convenient illness? That's enough. Alexander stepped between them. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until I expose this farce. Helena pulled out her phone. I have a private investigator who's been very thorough. Shall I read his findings? Emma Chen, 24, dropped out of nursing school, worked 2 minimum wage jobs. No significant relationships. No social media presence. Then suddenly she's engaged to one of New York's most eligible bachelors? She laughed coldly. Even you aren't stupid enough to fall for this, Alexander. Which means this is exactly what I think it is. A fake engagement to circumvent your father's will. Emma's heart stopped. They'd been so careful. How did Helena know? You have no proof, Alexander said. But Emma heard the uncertainty in his voice. Don't I? Helena smiled viciously. I have bank records showing the exact amount of Margaret Chen's medical bills paid from your personal account the same day Emma moved into this penthouse. I have testimony from restaurant staff saying you'd never met before that night. You have speculation and circumstantial evidence, Alexander interrupted. Nothing that would hold up legally. Perhaps not in court, but in the court of public opinion? Helena's smile widened. The board of directors will never accept this engagement as legitimate. They'll side with me, vote to sell the company, and everything your father built will be destroyed. All because you were too proud to actually find a real wife. She turned to leave, then paused. You have 48 hours to end this charade and accept that you've lost, or I'll make both your lives a living hell. The elevator doors closed behind her, leaving Emma and Alexander in ringing silence. She can't actually do this, can she? Emma asked, though she already knew the answer. Alexander's expression was grim. She can try, and she has enough money and connections to make it very difficult for us. Emma sank onto the couch, the weight of everything crushing down on her. Maybe we should just end this. You could find someone real, someone from your world. No. Alexander's voice was firm. We started this, we see it through. But if she exposes us, then we make sure she can't. Alexander pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyers. If Helena wants to play dirty, we'll show her just how dirty things can get. As Alexander paced the room making calls, Emma looked down at the letters still in her hands. Her mother's words, written with such love and gratitude to a man she barely knew. She's so much like you, though she doesn't know it. Emma had always wondered where she got her stubborn determination, her refusal to give up even when things seemed hopeless. Maybe she'd inherited more than just her mother's resilience. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Are you okay? These articles are brutal. Before Emma could respond, another text came through. This one from an unknown number. You don't belong in his world. End this before you get hurt. Then another. Gold digger trash. And another. How much did you charge him for the night? Emma's hands shook as the messages kept coming, each one more vicious than the last. Alexander, she said quietly, I think we have a bigger problem. The hate messages kept coming. By morning, Emma had received over 300 texts, emails, and social media notifications, all variations of the same theme. She was a gold digger, a manipulator, trash that didn't belong in Alexander Sterling's world. Emma sat in her suite, phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand, while news helicopters circled the building outside. The story had exploded overnight. Every gossip site, every tabloid, every social media platform was dissecting her relationship with Alexander. A knock on her door. "Emma, it's me." She opened it to find Alexander holding 2 coffee cups, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "Don't read the comments," he said, handing her a cup. "My PR team is working on damage control. It's too late for that." Emma's voice was hollow. "They've already decided who I am." Before Alexander could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his face went pale. "It's Mount Sinai Hospital." Emma's coffee cup slipped from her hands, shattering on the marble floor. "Mom, they made it to the hospital in 15 minutes. A trip that should have taken 30. Emma ran through the corridors, Alexander close behind, until they reached the ICU. Dr. Martinez met them outside Margaret's room, her expression grave. "Emma, your mother had a severe reaction to the immunotherapy. Her organs are shutting down. We've stabilized her for now, but what?" Emma's voice cracked. "She's in a coma. We don't know if she'll wake up." The world tilted. Emma felt Alexander's hand steady her, but she couldn't focus on anything except the sight of her mother through the glass window. Margaret lay motionless, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped with mechanical precision. "Can I see her?" Dr. Martinez nodded. "Of course. But Emma, you should prepare yourself. Even if she wakes up, the damage to her liver and kidneys is extensive. We're looking at possibly days, not months." Emma barely heard her. She pushed through the door and collapsed into the chair beside her mother's bed, taking Margaret's cold hand in hers. "Mom," she whispered. "I'm here. I'm right here." No response. Just the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor and the hiss of the ventilator. "I'm so sorry. I thought I was saving you, but maybe I just made everything worse. All this money, this fake engagement. None of it matters if you're not here." Tears streamed down Emma's face. "Please wake up. Please. I need you to tell me what to do." She felt a presence behind her. Alexander stood in the doorway, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it. "You should go," Emma said without looking at him. "You don't need to be here. This isn't part of our deal." "I'm not here because of the deal." Alexander moved closer, standing on the other side of Margaret's bed. "I'm here because no one should face this alone." "Why do you even care?" Emma's voice was bitter. "You got what you wanted. The engagement photos are everywhere. Your board of directors can see we're together. You don't need to pretend anymore." "I'm not pretending." The words hung in the air between them. "Emma, His phone buzzed. Then Emma's. Then both phones started ringing simultaneously. Alexander checked his screen, and his expression hardened. "Helena just called an emergency board meeting. She's moving to have me removed as CEO, claiming the engagement is fraudulent, and I'm mentally unfit to run the company." "Let her," Emma said. "I don't care about any of that anymore." "Emma, my mother is dying." She stood, facing him. "Your company, your inheritance, your aunt's schemes, none of it matters. The only person who ever truly loved me is lying in that bed, and I can't do anything to save her." Her voice broke. "So please, just go. Go fight your corporate battles and leave me alone with my mother." Alexander looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Emma's expression stopped him. "I'll be right outside if you need me." After he left, Emma climbed into the hospital bed beside her mother, carefully avoiding the tubes and wires. She laid her head on Margaret's shoulder the way she had as a child during thunderstorms. "Do you remember when I was 7 and I wanted to be a princess?" Emma whispered. "You made me a dress out of old curtains and a crown from cardboard and aluminum foil. You said I didn't need a prince or a castle to be royalty, that the way I treated people would make me a queen." She closed her eyes, exhausted. "I think I forgot that somewhere along the way. I got so focused on saving you that I lost sight of who I was, who you raised me to be." Hours passed. Emma drifted in and out of sleep, always jerking awake at any change in the monitor's rhythm. Nurses came and went. Dr. Martinez checked in periodically, her expression growing more concerned each time. As evening fell, Emma heard raised voices outside the room. She looked up to see Alexander arguing with someone, a tall man in an expensive suit carrying a briefcase. "Mr. Sterling, the board meeting starts in 30 minutes. Your presence is mandatory. Then they'll have to wait," Alexander said firmly. "Sir, if you don't attend, they'll vote to remove you. Everything your father built—" "I don't care." Alexander's voice rose. "There's a woman dying in there, and her daughter needs—" He stopped, seeming to realize Emma could hear everything. Their eyes met through the glass. In that moment, something shifted. Emma saw past the cold businessman facade to the man underneath, someone who'd lost his own mother to cancer, who understood exactly what she was feeling. The businessman left, shaking his head. Alexander entered the room, loosening his tie. "You're going to lose your company," Emma said. "Probably." He sat in the chair on the other side of the bed. "But my father would understand. He'd make the same choice." "Why are you really doing this?" Emma asked. "And don't tell me it's to honor your father's memory. There's something else." Alexander was quiet for a long moment, his eyes on Margaret's peaceful face. When he spoke, his voice was raw with emotion Emma had never heard from him. "My mother died when I was 16. Ovarian cancer. It happened fast, 6 months from diagnosis to death. My father threw everything at it. The best doctors, experimental treatments, alternative therapies. Nothing worked." He paused. "The day she died, I was at a debate tournament. I was winning, and I didn't want to leave. My father called 3 times before I finally answered. By the time I got to the hospital, she was gone. I never got to say goodbye." Emma's anger melted into sympathy. "Alexander, I promised myself I'd never make that mistake again, that I'd never choose ambition or pride over being there for someone who needed me." He finally looked at Emma. "So no, I'm not leaving. The board can wait. The company can wait. This matters more." Before Emma could respond, Margaret's monitors began beeping frantically. Dr. Martinez rushed in with 2 nurses. "She's crashing," Dr. Martinez said. "We need to intubate. Both of you, out, now." Emma stumbled backward as medical staff swarmed the room. Alexander caught her, holding her upright as they watched through the glass. Minutes stretched into hours. The medical team worked with urgent efficiency, their movements coordinated and desperate. Finally, Dr. Martinez emerged, pulling off her mask. Her eyes were red. "No," Emma whispered. "Please, no." "She's alive," Dr. Martinez said quickly. "But Emma, her organs are failing. We've done everything we can. You need to make a decision about how aggressive you want us to be with life support." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your mother is suffering. The machines are keeping her alive, but the cancer has spread too far. Even if she woke up, she'd be in excruciating pain. You need to decide if you want us to keep trying or—" She trailed off, but the implication was clear. "Let her go." Emma felt like she was drowning. "How long?" "If we continue aggressive treatment, maybe a week, maybe less. If we shift to comfort care," Dr. Martinez's voice gentled, "she could go peacefully, no more pain." Emma couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. She'd sacrificed everything, sold pieces of herself, endured public humiliation, all to save her mother, and it wasn't enough. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But Emma, not too long. Every moment she's like this, she's suffering." Dr. Martinez left them alone in the hallway. Emma stood frozen in the hospital corridor. "Doctor," Martinez's words echoing in her mind. Behind the glass, her mother lay motionless, machines keeping her alive, but unable to save her. "I can't decide to let her die," Emma whispered. Alexander's hand found hers. "You're not deciding to let her die. You're deciding to let her rest. I had to make this choice with my mother. Keeping her on machines when there's no hope. That's not love, Emma. That's fear." Before Emma could respond, rapid footsteps echoed down the corridor. A woman in her 70s rushed toward them, Helena Sterling close behind. "Where is she? Where's Margaret?" the older woman demanded. Emma stared in confusion. "Who are you?" "Rose Chen, Margaret's sister." The woman's voice broke. "I came as soon as Helena told me. My mother doesn't have a sister. She said she had no family. She lied to protect me." Rose's eyes filled with tears. 35 years ago, I fell in love with someone our family disapproved of. Margaret helped me run away, and our parents disowned both of us. She took the blame. I escaped to California and abandoned her." Shame colored her voice. "I let her raise you alone while I built a new life." Helena stepped forward. "Rose is my oldest friend. When I investigated your mother's background, I found this connection. I thought I was exposing fraud. Instead, I found a story of sacrifice." Emma's legs gave out. Alexander caught her, easing her into a chair. "Margaret sent me updates over the years. Photos of you, stories about your accomplishments," Rose continued. "But I was a coward. I should have been there. I can't undo 35 years of absence, but I can be here now." Emma looked at this stranger who shared her mother's eyes. "I don't know how to let her go. Rose knelt before her. You ask yourself what Margaret would want, not what you want, what she would choose. Emma thought of her mother's letters. I've made my peace with it. I've had 30 good years to raise my daughter. Her mother had been ready. It was Emma who wasn't. I want to see her, Rose said. They entered the room together. As Rose touched Margaret's face, whispering apologies, Margaret's eyes fluttered open, barely conscious, but aware. Mom! Emma rushed to the bedside. Dr. Martinez appeared. A moment of clarity before the end. Would you like me to remove the breathing tube so she can speak? Yes, Emma said. Please. Once the tube was removed, Margaret gasped. Emma, my beautiful girl. I'm here, Mom. Rose? You came. Margaret smiled weakly. No regrets. We both lived the lives we chose. Her gaze found Alexander. Richard's boy. You're good for her. I can see it. Mom, don't talk. Save your strength. For what? Margaret's laugh turned into a cough. I'm tired, baby, but I need to know you'll be okay, that you'll let people in, let yourself be loved. I don't know how to let you go. You carry me with you, in everything you do, every person you help. Margaret's eyes grew distant. I'm so proud of you. Always have been. I love you, Mom. I know. I've always known. Her breathing slowed. Richard, is that you? The heart monitor's beeps grew irregular, then stopped. Emma felt Alexander's hand on her shoulder as she whispered, Goodbye, Mom. 3 months later, Emma stood in Mount Sinai's chapel, wearing her nursing student uniform. The Margaret Chen Memorial Scholarship Fund, funded by Sterling Industries, would provide full tuition for students from low-income families. Your mother would be proud, Rose said, adjusting Emma's collar. Over 3 months, they'd built the relationship they'd both missed. Alexander appeared in the doorway. The hospital board is ready. At the ceremony, Emma spoke from her heart. My mother taught me that true wealth isn't money, but the lives you touch. This scholarship recognizes that the best healers often come from places of pain themselves. After the ceremony, they walked through Central Park. The fake engagement had officially ended, but Emma hadn't moved out, and Alexander hadn't asked her to. I have something for you, Alexander said, handing her an envelope. Inside was a check for $300,000, her salary from their arrangement. Emma tore it in half. I don't want your money, she said. I want to know if the man who sat with me in that hospital was real, or if he was playing a part. He was real, Alexander said softly. I'm in love with you, Emma Chen, not the arrangement. You. I love you too, Emma breathed. He kissed her. Nothing like their performed kisses. This was real. Months of feelings finally released. So what now? Emma asked. Now we do this right. No contracts. Just us. 1 year later, Emma adjusted her nursing cap before the wedding ceremony. Alexander appeared behind her in his tuxedo. The small botanical garden ceremony was intimate. Rose as maid of honor, Jessica and nursing friends filling the seats. Emma carried her mother's photo in her bouquet. I promise to never make you pretend to be someone you're not, Alexander vowed. The best inheritance my father left me was leading me to you. I promise to love you because of our differences, Emma said. You saved my mother's life, but you saved mine too. At the reception, Emma found Alexander by a newly planted tree. The plaque read, In memory of Margaret Chen, who taught us that love is the greatest inheritance. Emma's hand moved to her stomach. Alexander, I have something to tell you. We're going to have a baby. His eyes widened with joy. He knelt, pressing his ear to her stomach. Your grandmother Margaret would have loved you so much. Emma looked up through the trees, knowing her mother was watching. The desperate waitress had become a woman surrounded by love, about to bring new life into the world. And the cold billionaire had found something more valuable than any inheritance, a family. True wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in love freely given. An arrangement born from desperation had become genuine connection, proving that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings.